Markos, hi. Tell me about the Daily Coast and its role here at Netroots Nation.
This is our annual party. This is our get-together. This is our one time out of the year that everybody who sort of hangs out virtually and organizes and engages and fights and loves and otherwise sort of hangs out online. This is our offline annual shindig. And you know, to me, like the highlight of every Netroots Nation is our finale party, which is Saturday night. So yeah, in fact, a couple of years ago, we had our first Daily Coast party on a Friday night, and we killed the rest of the conference. Everybody showed up like zombies on Saturdays. So now we close out the party, so we don't have that problem anymore. And so yeah, to me, this is sort of our one offline sort of blowouts every year.
Mm-hmm. How has Netroots evolved over 5 years?
Yeah, you know, we get more sophisticated. We grow. There's a lot more professionalization of the Netroots. Some of it good, some of it is questionable. But overall, we are maturing as a movement. We're taken more credibly as a movement. I remember during the first Netroots Nation back in 2006, I did the keynote address, one of the keynotes. And in that keynote, I mentioned a poll at the time that had Joe Lieberman beating Ned Lamont in the Democratic Party, 50-35. And I said, and when I gave those numbers, everybody cheered. And I said, we're going to win this race. And everybody cheered. And you could see the media at the back of the room, you know, the New York Times and Washington Post and all that crowd. They're all sort of snickering themselves, thinking like, these guys are such idiots that they think a 50-35 poll means that Ned Lamont's going to win the Democratic primary. But we were a lot more sophisticated than they thought because we knew about trends, we knew about numbers, we knew about field operations and so on and so forth. And obviously we won that primary. So my going out on a limb wasn't really going out on a limb. And I think that taught a lot of that media that maybe these guys know a little bit what they're talking about. They're not these uninformed, unsophisticated rubes that maybe they can be a force in politics. I don't think anybody doubts that we're a force in politics anymore. So that is definitely different. It's just a question of how we continue to deal with what is a pretty much messed up political process and try to fix it.
What are you most excited about this weekend at this Netroots Nation?
I said at my party Saturday night. That is awesome. But you know what? To me, what's interesting about this is it's a chance to actually talk to people face to face. I mean, I interact with a lot of these people online, and you know, it's just pixels on a screen. So once in a year, it sort of reminds me that we are actually all humans, and we actually all exist in meat space. And you know, believe it or not, that can be sort of easy to forget when you're dealing with a computer screen. So it's a nice little reminder. But as far as events, I mean, it's the party. It's sort of we all let loose one last time and then go back to hopefully win some races this November, or not lose as many as we're supposed to.
Right. Any predictions?
Yeah, we're going to lose some races. We're not going to lose control of either chamber of Congress. We're not going to lose as many as people think. I think we may even hold our own in the Senate. And a lot of people who are going to lose in the House are people who I'm going to be happy to see gone in the House, a lot of blue dogs. But it's not going to be an easy year. We're going to lose some good people in the House and in the Senate probably. And so we've got to write it out. I mean, the Democrats haven't done enough for the economy, for jobs. That's going to come back and bite them in the ass in November. Hopefully things start turning around by 2012. And I think our long-term outlook is pretty good. Given demographic trends between communities of color and young voters, and the growth between, first of all, their partisanship, you know, their strong Democratic bent, and their growth as a percentage of the population. So long term, we're going to be fine. We've got to write out 2010.
Yeah. As progressive activists, journalists, and bloggers, I mean, what do we need to do to force President Obama to make the right kind of change and to help him get reelected?
Oh, Jesus Christ. I mean, what can we do to get them to listen? Become conservatives, apparently, because the second you're a conservative and you say jump, you'll ask how high. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to question twice when it's a conservative saying something. If it's a progressive, forget it. You know, you get run through the ringer, you're shrill, you know, you're asking for too much, you're not being patient enough, you're not appreciating enough what's being done. So it's tough. I mean, really, it's a difficult place to be. I think one of the things that I hope happens is that when the dust settles in November, that the candidates that we backed are going to be victorious, and a lot of the ones that we didn't, you know, the Blanche Lincolns are going to go down in defeat, and maybe they're going to learn that we're not stupid about choosing our candidates and choosing the issues, because we're not asking the administration to do the impossible. We're not pushing them to do good things like, you know, legalize gay marriage, as positive and as moral as that may be. you understand that the country, from a public opinion standpoint, isn't necessarily ready for gay marriage, right? Okay, we're not asking for the impossible. We're asking for what they promised for in the last election.
Yeah.
We're asking for things that are popular in the polling, and they're not responding. And that's, I think, what's most frustrating about it, because they're not delivering on what they promised. They're full of excuses. God knows they're full of excuses. Harry Reid, from day one, kept whining about 60 votes. You never heard Bill Frist whine about 60 votes, right? But Harry Reid couldn't stop talking about 60 votes because it was a convenient excuse, and they're looking for excuses. And so we got to keep building. My motto is more and better Democrats. It's a long-term process. We got to remember that conservatives spent 30 years building their movement, from Barry Goldwater's defeat in 1964 to taking over Congress in 1994. It was a 30-year process. We're in year 8, I think, of our process, right? So we got a while to go. But the idea is we need better Democrats in Congress and in the House and in the Senate, and ultimately that hopefully will help sort of embolden the White House to sort of deliver on what they promised.
Have we as advocates, as media, made mistakes since the 2008 election? And what can we learn from the role we've played since Obama won?
Oh, we're perfect. We don't make any mistakes. I mean, I wish in a way that we mattered enough where our mistakes mattered enough. Yeah. I honestly, there used to be a debate about, are you giving Obama enough time to do things? And for example, at Daily Kos, you had the Obama rocks crowd against the Obama sucks crowd. And apparently these people don't understand what gray areas are, or they don't understand that Obama can be good on issue A and maybe a little bit not so good on issue B.
And how many of your readers and viewers are on each side?
It was probably 50-50.
Yeah.
But I got to say that it's sort of, that's softening now. I think people are sort of understanding the gray more, because I think a lot of the Obama rocks people are realizing, well, I didn't like the fact that we're not really pulling out of Afghanistan anytime soon. And the Obama sucks people are realizing, well, there are a couple of really good things that have come out of this administration that maybe we shouldn't be so hard on them. But as far as progressive media, I mean, if anything, we're still not big enough and influential enough to push our what we're selling into the traditional media the way that Fox News or Rush Limbaugh or Breitbart can do. And so we're at a disadvantage. So right now, whatever mistakes we've made, and I'm sure we've made them because we're all human, haven't had much impact because we as a movement are still building our capacity to have impact. I mean, it's one thing for Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi to show up and speak at Netroots Nation. It's another thing for what we write to impact how they react and how they govern in office. And we can do the former, obviously. The latter, we're still working on.
You'll be breaking bread tonight with Montana Governor Brian Schweitzer at 6. What kind of words might be exchanged? What are we going to be talking about?
I have no idea. Brian Schweitzer is kind of he's a hokey mountain populist. I love him, and I've got my fingers crossed that he's got a 2016 bid in the works, because that may be something I could get aboard. I love Brian Schweitzer, and what I'm going to talk about is really 5 years. We started here, we're here 5 years later, how we've evolved as a movement. But I got 10 minutes, so, I'll have to be brief about what I talk about.
For Netroots, for Daily Kos, for us on the left, what's next moving forward?
We keep organizing and keep building this infrastructure. I mean, Rush Limbaugh has the ability to reach 20 to 40 million people a week. I've got the ability to reach 2 million people a month. Uh-huh. And wow, 2 million people sounds impressive. You compare it to what the right wing has, not very impressive at all. So we got to continue building. And I don't get discouraged, because again, I realize it took them 30 years to get to where they are with gobs and gobs of money. We've, I think, come a long way in the last 5 years with no money. Basically, scraping by on duct tape and whatnot. So to me, it's the issue of continue organizing, building, and expanding our reach and reaching new communities and getting people to find out that we exist and that we are a viable alternative. Same thing with you guys, that we are a viable alternative to traditional media outlets that have clearly failed to properly inform the American people, which is why we're at where we are. I mean, you look at countries like Greece and the United Kingdom that have a really vibrant traditional media world where every viewpoint is represented, from the far left communist to the far right xenophobic, fascist. And there isn't much of an alternative media structure because people feel that their views are being represented. The reason that this whole Netroots phenomenon exists, that you guys exist, that I exist, is because people feel that they haven't gotten, that they're not properly represented in this media landscape, and that they're looking for alternate sorts of information. And we got to continue feeding that desire because it's definitely out there. It's a market niche that I think is only going to continue to grow.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.